Cool. Oh no, it took ages to even start. It's probably going to take ages to finish. We're just going to say it'd be nice to go somewhere nice, but of course, you're in the UK, you can't. Bruce and I, we can drive wherever we want to go, and
we've got
fill up our car. What we could probably do is fill our cars up, just take it round the corner, and just empty the tanks and do it all again, just for fun.
Yep.
Did you?
That big can of petrol in my video. I just
the big can of petrol.
I'll show these English people what it's like to have excess fuel.
Yeah, I got plenty. I store it in bin bags.
Of course you did. That's exactly what you did. That's why you showed a can of petrol, you git.
It's all right. I store it in bin bags. I take bin bags with me wherever I go and store petrol in it.
Yeah,
but I think in America they had a similar petrol thing where people were storing it. I can't remember why. Not long ago, was it? But
I have to laugh in the UK because we're going to buy electric cars now until they realise that there's a major electricity insufficiency as well. Wait till the winter comes.
That'll be fine. That'll just shut everything down. At least it won't just be fuel then.
That was a gas price. That was the gas price. That wasn't.
That's not lack of power.
That was Russia.
Yeah. Russia is now holding.
Daryl, I sent you the link. Daryl, I sent you the link. You've brushed his hair as well. I sent you the link. You get. All right, let me do it again.
He's brushed his hair. We don't want him on if he's tidy.
Yeah, so I'm glad somebody's.
We don't have anyone with tidy hair on you.
No, I'm glad somebody brushed their hair. Some of us don't have it. Some of us don't know what a brush is.
He's showing off about the actually having hair, isn't he? That's what it is. Hang on. Where will I find him? Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to go to Facebook and invite him there.
So yeah, I mean, over here it's just ridiculous. I mean, fuel pricing, electric's just because of gas pricing. So we don't have electric problems at all. Our electricity is fine. Just switch on the gas generators. Cost a fortune, but Russia's got us all, the whole of Europe at the minute, get our power, most of our gas from Russia. They want to pay for their COVID inconvenience. They hike the tax up or whatever. Where the rest of Europe's going to pay for it. We rely on Russia for gas. That's it.
I've invited him and he's saying nada. Louis, hello.
Hello, guys. I'm just happy to hear that our friends from UK are going to implement the drone delivery, as they don't need petrol to do drone delivery.
Yeah. We've been forced into it. Electric cars and drone delivery is taking a whole new priority over anything else.
Come on, guys.
Can they deliver petrol by drone?
I heard there was a drone circling the petrol stations that prevented it being delivered, and that's what's caused the shortage. Is that true?
Yeah.
They had to shut down all of the petrol stations.
That seems very likely.
It couldn't be that all our lorry drivers have been working hard. They've suddenly got all their holiday to take, and they've gone on holiday, and that's the reason why not everything's been delivered.
He claims to brush his hair. He's got a bloody cap on.
And he's underneath.
That's that work. Does that work?
And the cap's on the right way around. His head's on backwards.
That's it.
He's facing the other way.
You wouldn't think he's 17, would you?
What's he got those gold discs for in the background? Or are they half gold discs? They don't.
What? Sorry.
Those records, aren't they your gold discs?
No, that's what you get when you sit on a photocopier.
No, they are. If I'm right, they're orbits, aren't they? I can't quite see, but they look.
Yeah, we've got St. Paul's Cathedral. That's Battersea Power Station, and that is above Leicester Square.
So, were you beaten up in all three of these locations, or none of them?
Yeah, shot at. Yeah, knifed.
Yeah, excellent, very good. You should have a little sort of. I guess you don't sign into hospital there, do you? You should have your invoices for each hospital, which you'll have in a couple of years' time once you're paying for it all. It'll be fine. Oh, I'm more curious about the fridge. Is that a downstairs booze fridge?
This is my office. This is my office. That's a booze fridge which is currently off because I have no booze. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure.
I've got one now. Spirits. I've got some tequila, or emergency use tequila up there. Very nice Don Julio, expensive tequila.
I can't stand that stuff. Stuff. I can't drink it. I can't drink it.
But you could use it as petrol.
You could use it. Yes, yes, you could. Yeah, over there in the fourth world. Right now, we should actually talk some drones. Or something. We've been going 5 minutes and we've not even mentioned one of those flying.
You guys didn't mention it. As soon as I spoke, it was drone delivery. Come on.
Oh, yes. Drone delivery.
Ian and Mark are going to do a new company. It is at your door by the air. So
Skyfall.
The name of the company.
Quick, can we patent that?
It's going to be. There is actually some drone news this week, isn't there, Gary? Which is an unusual event for recent times. There is actually.
There is, but before we go there, I've just before we go there, and I'll stop myself. We should say to Louis, I believe your son graduated this week, didn't he?
Yeah. He graduated.
And he is now tell us what he's graduated from and what that's all about.
It's a Navy officer, and his specialty is weapons and electronic systems.
Well, that's fantastic.
Let's just say he has to deal with drones, lots of drones. And non-peaceful now, and he deals with peaceful ways of using drones because his thesis was a peaceful usage of drones.
But we know in the Portuguese Navy, what that means is you chuck them off the side and they go straight down into the harbour.
No. I know that one. I know the guys that did that drone. That's the problem, that you have to try to show half a version of a prototype to the guy that pays the bill, the minister. So shit happens, and usually happens at the best times.
Absolutely. Well, joking aside, congratulations to him. You must have been very proud this week, and fair play, well done. That's not to be sniffed at, that sort of achievement.
And by the way, I heard that in the lower part of the world, there's another turn around the sun from someone that side.
Oh, yeah, I'm a year younger than I used to be, I suppose, or something.
No, I believe that you completed another lap around the sun.
So it's party here. That's what it is.
It's a party. Come on.
Where were the party hats? Where's the cake?
Yeah.
Oh, I ate
cake.
it.
Where's candles? Come on.
We have the booze. We have the booze over there. Let me get.
Yeah, got the booze. Got the booze.
Yeah. It's all around. Yes. Well, thank you very much. Yes, I appear to be older. But anyway, let us return to the drone. The
vodka
drone,
and orange.
Let us return to the drone. Yeah, there's been a bit of news. We've got the. Oh, but I haven't got any. That's not. Blast. So which are we going to go for first? We're going to go for the Dji Rumors. Are we going to talk about the way that they have tried to sit on the Autel announce with that? Which way are we going to play this?
Well, I think we should go Autel first because it's an actual product. That would be logic.
Can you show it? Can you show it? Come on, Ian, show it.
No, I don't have one. The Autel don't really. No one talks to me, as everyone knows, so I wouldn't have it. But,
come on. If you don't have it, how can we be sure?
No, I don't think anyone has it. I think I don't think we've seen any footage of this at all. But Autel have announced.
I don't believe there's any in America either yet.
No, I think they've announced pricing. It's not really a release; it's an announcement now of 2 new drones, which is the Evo Lite, which is 2 models, and the Evo Nano to directly compete with the Mavic, the A2 and A2S and the Mini 2 series of drones. And look, there's nothing spectacular here. However, I think what's really interesting in all of this is for the first time, we have a manufacturer bringing it to DJI on multiple products. So if we go back, you had 3DR tried to go after the Phantom. We've had the GoPro, which just fell out the sky. Fell out the market and fell out the sky. Hey, it's fell out the market and the sky. And then we've had Unique and the others bumbling along, but Autel have just delivered something which no one else has. And if they do deliver it to the market, they are the only manufacturer on a consumer basis who are bringing pound for pound products that are directly competing with DJI. There's some really interesting specs in the light version and the Nano. Like, for instance, the Nano, for 250 grams, they've crammed in all-round object avoidance sensing, 30 minutes flight time, and a larger sensor than DJI has. On the light, there is some interesting stuff, not on the Plus model, because the Plus model is 1 inch with a variable aperture. But the normal version has a new sensor, which we've not seen before, but it has HDR and it has this new sensor technology and the option to do portrait video. So
they have, or do they say they have?
Well, a new sensor. Well, it's, yeah, they are using they're using yellow instead of greens in the sensor. And there's only been a few phone manufacturers who've tried this before. So rather than using red, green, blue, they're using red, yellow, blue. And the idea is the yellow filter will allow more light through, and then they sub-process it in software back to green, but it in theory gives better low light performance. But the interesting thing is they're not cheap. They are expensive. $1,050 for the light and $1,150 for the light plus, and it's $600 and $700. I think it's $650 for the mini equivalent and $800 for the mini plus. So they are going to be a lot more expensive than DJI as well. But I think that's the norm. I think you will see other models increase in price. I think that's a reality of the market, and I think that's the thing. But if they deliver on this, there is a hell of a lot to like here.
And the biggest problem will be, where would you be able to buy it? Because one thing, as we know, is to make heavy announcements and do the things, but then if you cannot buy it, the pricing becomes irrelevant.
They do have a much better dealer network now. In the UK, they're creeping up all over the place, and in the US, you've got X-Adventure, you've got 4 or 5, and look, you've even got the likes of Rumors and all of them stocking Autel Pro products. So they are gaining market share very quickly.
No, they
But
are.
I wonder also if they
share, not market share.
Well, there's a lot of people seeing them. It's interesting.
Well, you could, let's say the word mind share, because there's no doubt that DJI have reacted to this, and there's no doubt that people are talking about it as we are right now. I think also, I don't think they meant to be talking about it this week.
No. It does feel rushed a little bit, and I think it's a reaction to they've been outed quicker than they wanted. And one thing it should be, there's a drone by Hubsan which has a lot of the features this drone's had for 3, 4, 5 months. But Autel are the first company other than DJI I'm happy to give $500-$600 to, because love or hate DJI, if you were going to spend $500 on a mid to low end drone, you knew with DJI you would get a product that would work and work well. And yes, it has its faults, and we can talk about the no-fly zone stuff, but you're not getting ripped off. And I always felt trying to give someone like Hubsan money, why would you give it to them over DJI? However, Autel feels different. I wouldn't be concerned. We know they deliver a good product. So,
and as regards to pricing thing, it's all having to creep up because of the chip shortage and other stuff. And if the rumors of the prices, I mean, people are arguing about it, of the new Mavic are true, then people are already disappointed that it's going to be so flipping expensive.
I think it's going to be higher than it's already been put. I think some of the pricing is optimistic. Yeah, I hand on heart think it is. I hand on heart think it is. I think there's rumors of two models, a Cine model and a standard. The Cine, I reckon, if the spec is right, the Cine will be north of $3,000. I think.
Where's that against the P4P now? I don't know what those are.
Less. That's 1,1700.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's the Cine one. But if we take the basic model, if that's going to come out, I think that's going to be closer to $2,000 as a base model, and then maybe 2.5 with a Fly More, and maybe then with this Cine model, 3, maybe 3.5. If it does go north of 3, that's interesting territory.
But will that be so in the UK? Would that end up being £3,000?
Yeah, it's always $1 per pound. Yeah, for DJI especially.
Well, it's plus a bit though, isn't it? Because it's not. Yeah. It's plus another 20% in it, or 10% or something.
No, it's normally pretty close. If you look at the $1 per pound, it's normally pretty much there. Okay. I do think the rumors are correct. I do think. Look, DJI have had a very long time to deliver a product here. They've had a very long time. So I do think what's being said is a fair representation. And I'm not involved. But I also think if they do this, they're opening themselves to getting a bit of a bait and switch. And the reason I'm saying that is normally their models have big differences. So it's very rare you have a model with the same camera and different internal type features, because there's talk of both models having this dual camera and the only difference then being onboard SSD and recording features and capabilities. But what you'll then end up with is marketing and everything promoting this best one, and people buying one that looks exactly the same as the best one, yet not having those features. And the last time we had that was the Phantom 3 Pro and the Phantom 3 Advanced. Everything else since has always been substantially different.
Don't forget the standard.
And the standard, that came after the standard, and then the 4K, and then the standard plus, which they kept rolling them out for years, didn't they?
Yeah.
So. Because if you look at the Phantom 4 and the Phantom 4 Pro, they're very similar looking, but the original Phantom 4 Pro had front object avoidance sensors and the camera was much larger. You couldn't look at it and say it was the same drone. Whereas if they're saying this, it could look similar. And the question then is, for the likes of us, me, the commercial operators, if this Cine version happens and it is north of $3,000, where does the Inspire series sit? Because... Okay, I've seen people say, this is going to be a replacement for the Inspire. It isn't. Most people fly the Inspire because they can change the lens. It's not the sensor. The 20 megapixel sensor is nothing particularly special on the Inspire. It's the same as my GH5, which is here, or the G9 I'm doing this on now. It's the lens system that makes MFT really good. Small, compact, and interchangeable. So shoving a Micro Four or 4/3 sensor on it alone is a complete waste of time without great glass, and they may as well have stuck to 1 inch. And I do still have a concern this is all one-upmanship on this sensor size, just to say we've got the biggest sensor.
But also, and what's really, really interesting is, if they say, it's a Cine version, if you go on to do like a TV production, you're working in film or anything, as Darryl will tell you, you have a camera op with you, because it doesn't matter where the Inspire is going, which direction it's flying in. The great thing about the Inspire is you can point the camera wherever you want. The camera doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if they add that on as a feature, if they go for this Cine version, that you'll be able to have dual op on a Mavic.
But it can't do the 180, or can it? Because that would be the interesting thing. Here's
a question. What if you could start using the side sensors for vision as well? So if you were flying, if you think about, you got on the Inspire 2, you got Spotlight.
Oh yeah, now you're just derailing yourself completely. Come on, are they going to use the side sensors to capture images? Yes, they usually do.
No, to see where you're going. See where you're going,
Louis, for FPV. What if you take the Inspire 2, you've got Spotlight Pro, which allows you to fly the camera forward with the frankly shocking FPV camera, which apart from it being brilliant, utter daylight, it still looks like a 1970 TV image. It is shocking.
That's me. But you still need 2 video feeds then. You need one video feed for the framing and one for where you're going, and you don't have 2, do they?
But OcuSync, OcuSync does that. It will do it. They've done it before. Will they abandon the Inspire 2? In some ways, it doesn't matter if it has all of the features.
Will they abandon the Phantom 4 Pro V2?
Soon, once they've run out of the next sensor manufacturer.
Well, I still know operators using an Inspire 1.
Yeah. X-Knives. Yeah.
History Channel. Well, maybe that's I suppose that's
just interesting on the pricing, Gary. I'm just looking at the pricing. You know what I was saying about Autel. The Mini 2 on its own, right, is $449. That's the price of a Mini 2. Now, don't get me wrong, the Autel has a lot more features, Object Avoidance, but it's $200 more.
Yeah,
that is substantial. So Autel, whilst they're coming in,
drone pilot, or are you what? Do you need Object Avoidance? Look at Bruce. He doesn't need Object Avoidance.
We all want to avoid him. We don't need sensors for that.
I think the target market do need Object Avoidance for small drones like that. 100%. They need 360 Object Avoidance. Yeah.
But it is interesting, you know, when you look on that price point, they are $200 more. So whilst I am saying they're bringing it to them, it's not direct competition.
But so, new with the bigger numbers always better.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Now, what does
new is always better
value more in terms of image quality? How much is it worth? $200 more in image quality. That's
what we need to see. That's what we need to see, and it's the same size sensor on that.
And you know, to get people to come away from this little thing, because this little thing is a brilliant little flyer. I mean, I was flying it today in winds where it probably was getting a bit much for it. I was always in sports mode, you know, and I was, for once, I actually was pushing it a little bit just to see what it really could do. But
yeah,
you know, how to make me spend $200 or £200 more on something that's if it can't, it's got to bring so much more to the game for me to pick this.
I think it's color. The women will love the colors because you have different colors with Autel. DJI is just the same old blend.
Yeah. Interestingly, on the ear pricing again, it's $250. So again, it's similar.
That £200 more, what you get for it is the ability to fly it within FRZs and geozones, right?
Yes,
Well, we think, and that's I am throwing caution to that. We haven't seen this yet. I do have some documentation that was shared with me, and there is a lack of detail on that.
These ones are Chinese.
This is consumer.
And Mitchell Roberts is absolutely right, because we begin to see this in US customers saying Chinese drone, no thank you.
This is
Europe,
a consumer drone.
In Europe, come on, we even have that Xiaomi thing with the cell phones. The government saying don't use Xiaomi phones. So we might see a problem. So Chinese manufacturers are going to have a problem going forwards.
But this is consumer.
Autel, DJI, or whatever.
Yeah, but for the hobbyists, and let's face it, these are mostly going to be picked up by hobbyists. You know, the mass market. They won't give a rat's. All they care about is the price point and can it do what it does. That's the kicker. You know, this is like these are so hard to beat.
But isn't the next elephant in the room going to be they'll get rid of that 249 gram weight limit before very long? They're not going to let it keep going.
I don't know if they dare it. Well, we'll see. I don't think they'll
get rid of it. They did that in Japan. They got rid of it. They got it down to 199.
Yeah,
199. Yeah.
I think they might go with the rules a bit more stringent and just say, look, it's 120 meters from you in any direction.
I just have a feeling as the manufacturers rush to 249 grams, that door will be slammed in their face before long. Said the jolly happy chap
with the party here.
Exactly.
What we'll see then going forward is the drones being sold with a battery that will enable them to fly under that category, and we'll be looking at the FPV flying times, 3 to 5 minutes.
It's exactly what's happened in Japan, isn't it? You can buy them with the lightweight battery, and if you choose to use that or the other battery, well, then that's up to you. But if you've got the lightweight battery on, you comply with the law.
There's a lot to like here. You know, to be fair to Autel, like, okay, it's more expensive. So if price is an issue, people are going to go for the Mini. On the Air, it's less. You know, there'll be competition in the pricing. That'll get changed, I think. It's just, I'm really hopeful they bring them to market, they deliver, because it will push DJI on a lot further. They haven't had anyone to really push them. Like, if you look at the Mini 2, it's basically got the holes for the object avoidance sensors DJI took off it. If you look at the front mark, the holes are there. They just put blanks in there because they knew the market didn't require it, because there was no competition. And DJI have done that time and time again. There is lots of images out there of products they've made with a lot more features. There's a picture of a Mavic 2 roaming around with full 360 object avoidance. It never shipped with it because DJI deliver just enough. It's the old Intel game in computers of CPUs. It's just enough to take it forward. Whereas now, Autel have walked in sub 250 grams. Yes, it's Jira. Three-way object avoidance, full tracking, better camera. Yes, it costs more, but it's then next. Bring on the game, and that's it.
But is pricing it a bit more expensive working in their favour? So obviously they've brought it to market, but they can't make as many as DJI do, for example. Maybe they haven't, maybe they can make the numbers. But if they can't make the numbers, and they just go, well, if we charge a couple of hundred more, one is selling, but it's, we make a bit more premium per one, but we just can't go like DJI and go like, here's like 50,000 a day or a week or whatever. Autel can go, well, we're doing half the number, but we're making a bit more on each one.
Do you know what the best thing they could do with that money? Give it to the dealers. Because look, DJI is renowned for minimum margins with dealers. Okay, so if you really want to build a community and a network, you need the dealers on your side. The best thing Autel could do is keep the price up and keep the dealers happy. How much can someone really be making on a Mini 2? If they're making $20, $30, I will be astonished on that. I bet it's less than that.
$1,000.
Okay, make your astonished face.
On a Mini 2,
yes, they are making much more than that.
It can't be much more.
But the
£60,
thing is,
£70, it can't be much.
They're just made from old recycled Coke bottles. I mean, it's not that
if you
expensive.
take the UK, right, £449, we have VAT, which everyone pays. So that's what's that going to be on that? It's going to be
$540. What this is for the Fly More pack. This is $540.
40. So 100 quid off that for VAT nearly. And by the time you do that and carriage, so that's 440. Take a dealer margins of 40, 50 quid. If they're lucky, it's not an easy market.
Oh God, come on. Put just add together the cost of the components.
Right.
The number you'll get, do the same that usually the guys do with the iPhones. Take the thing apart and add the cost of everything. Put it a margin for development of X%.
Yeah, but that's DJI's margin.
The cost of goods. Then you have the cost of goods, and then from then on, it's just whatever margins you want to put in.
I tell you what I have seen this week, I don't know if anyone else spotted it, is a number of dealers selling off DJI gear that was not end of life, but it's been sat on the shelf too long. Because DJI ever since a few years ago where they had problems with batteries dying, they now put a shelf life on products. And there's been all sorts of stuff going up online, even M300s. And that just shows you how little has actually shifted over the last few months. Did you see it, Mark? It was on one of the groups as well, wasn't it?
There was. I've seen some Advance, not the new Enterprise, but the Advance, which is just discontinued. I've seen them being shifted out the door. People are giving
What
hefty
about
discounts on them.
do you see the containers of Intel stuff also up for auction? Buy containers of 10 or 12 Falcon 8s with absolutely no support. But what I wanted to say was, regardless of which is the best or what the cost is or whatever, Autel and DJI have knocked Skydio and Parrot completely off the news. They're nowhere. They've had 2 weeks of not being heard. And I don't know. Did we all see that Parrot's opened up to, if you're a commercial user, ask us, and we'll give you one for 2 months.
I should have asked for them, really, shouldn't I? Well, it's this time of year in the UK. I just won't get out to fly it that much.
You fly at least maybe for 1 second, Mark, maybe 2.
Our weather's now turned, so flying just drops to the floor anyway.
So you can only buy a machine that you can use for 6 months of the year. Is that how it works?
Well, no, just that. Well, if I'm going to have something to have and evaluate, I want to be able to, if I'm using it in the summer, I'm nearly out every day, every other day. That's great. You can put time on it. But if I'm not out there this time of year, back off a bit. I'm only going out twice a week if I'm lucky, maybe once a week. I'm just not going to get the flight time to do it, to really put it through its paces.
Well, yeah, I just thought it was interesting to do it, but all of this, that said, it was knocked off by DJI and Autel News.
What was Parrot's AI pricing? Do we know where that sits with all this as well? So we've got the Parrot AI coming, and then we've got Autel, we've got DJI, all their new models. Where's Parrot in this? Where are they sitting in this line?
Someone's making for someone to make a first move by the sound of it. Then they'll set their prices.
Yeah, because that will be the interesting thing. Where does Parrot sit with its pricing? Because, everyone else is going, these are two.
You can get Parrots on higher purchase.
Oh,
But they'll leave a small deposit.
Oh,
yeah.
Let's not have Bruce do a. Yeah.
I'm worried Bruce might be my father in disguise.
Yeah. I think we find out. There we are, Anafi USA 7 to 8K, but that's now.
Wow.
Oh no, that's the Anafi USA, not the AI. Yeah. But didn't we hear it was going to be something in my head's telling me it was going to be 6K? But maybe I made that up. I could have very well have done. I thought that was the number we'd heard or thereabouts. But yeah, they're being pushed aside by various marketing machines, and I think coming back to really what Ian said, it seems DJI have been more worried about the Autel thing than the Anafi AI.
I firmly believe they're regardless of if the people behind the leaks think they are or not. I think this is breadcrumbs being left to be found. All of the leaks have come from one source, Jasper Ellens. He seems a nice guy. I had a few messages with him this week. He really does seem a nice guy, and he's explained some things to me in the background, which I won't talk about because he asked me not to. But he's, anyone who thinks DJI are feeding him info, they're not. But I still think they are, just in such a way that he's not involved in the decision making of that process. That's my genuine position. But he isn't working with them or anything like that. But it's a funny situation.
If I bothered to be good about these things, one could have created a list of everything they've leaked in the past and the time frames before the launch and all that sort of thing. If you were to write it all down for each product, I think you'd probably find some sort of a pattern. I think it would be there.
I don't know where I stand on this leak thing, because this is nothing against the people who do it personally, but I do find it's a bit like sensational press. It doesn't bring anything to the industry. All it does is generate clicks for websites. That's it, isn't it?
I think it's product research. I think
True.
it's a bit like with films that bits of stories get leaked from insiders and stuff like that. I think they monitor the chat. They see what's buzzing, what's not, what people don't care about, and then they can tweak it because it's not released, it's not official. They're just getting that info. So that's what I think.
I think it's the industry. I don't know how I feel about, because if you look at a leak, right? A leak comes out. They're generally gone to one website. That website gets tons of clicks. They get tons of ad revenue, but it's not a service, is it? It's the leaking industry is just sensational press. It's no different to Rooney's been seen with the ex-woman or this. It doesn't bring anything. And don't get me wrong, there's a whole industry around product leaking. Apple has the biggest. Christ, there's a website called Mac Rumors that exists for that very purpose, and I followed Mac Rumors for donkey's years, and it's just a strange situation. But look, he's clearly got someone feeding him, or he's finding some good info, and I think it's genuine. I've not seen. I think if it wasn't, they would say something. I think there is a point that they're not going to let things go too awry, because if it does go so far off the scale as the madness, they're going to sit there and look bad when it does come out, if you know what I mean. So they'll always try to steer it.
Has Daryl got a point? Are they fishing for price now as prices are being shoved out and people are going, no way? Yes, please. Are they working out exactly where they can pitch it? Oh, he's doing his Bond moment there. Are they? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah. Why not? I mean, yeah, they've got a margin on it. They're putting it out there at a certain price, seeing what they can get away with, see how much interest.
Yeah.
Again, it's similar to console releases, console rumors, phone releases, phone rumors. Everyone does it in marketing and research. They go put bits out there, see what's gonna, see what people are willing to buy it on.
It's quite funny because obviously in the past I have been involved with a number of launches with DJI. I helped run their social groups and stuff, and I was always on the other side of the table. I'd be sitting here watching some of this stuff come out, and either I was lucky enough to have it in hand, or I knew about it, and you'd be sitting here going, "Oh God, they're well off on this," or "Oh Christ." Yeah. And I know over the years DJI have been very weird with leaks. You'd get one on one hand. I always felt some of it was them. Yet the people involved in the product, that team, were raving. Yet you still looked at this leak and thought this could only have come from internal. Do you know what I mean? You look at it and think this is somewhere in DJI, but somewhere else.
Well, come on. You think you're DJI, right? And every time you're creating a product, someone's leaking it online. It's almost like clockwork. We're working on something and something comes out, and some dodgy pictures come out and some sketches come out, and it's always the same. It's like, we've got an issue. Should we do anything about it?
Should we get more views, Gary? I'm thinking, should we get more views to this? Should we go with a leak?
It's fishing. They're fishing.
Or the new Parrot?
Well,
should we leak the new Parrot?
The new Parrot. Oh, if only one of us had one. I mean, then we could.
God.
It would be possible if somebody.
I'm sharing it right now. Come on,
if somebody at the bottom of the new. I don't think I can show that image. The Parrot was so angry with me. If I do that, I'll be in a great deal of trouble. I'll be in a great deal of trouble. Yeah. I turned it away quickly because obviously, I don't want lawyers ringing me up.
I do remember they were
excited.
Sorry, I do remember
all excited. It's not Parrot.
No, I saw a cat was
went, yeah.
I do remember they were upset a few years ago when Argos in the UK outed the Mavic 2. I don't know if you remember the Mavic 2 launch. Argos published the catalogue with the product in before it had even launched.
Where the leaks come from? Where the leaks?
I do remember the conversation on that one because I was involved, and it was like, you are kidding me. It's been published in a British catalogue, full pricing, full specs, full everything. But that's what happens when they delay products, because it was delayed, you see, before, and this is what happens.
Yeah, and the catalogue's got to go to print on a certain day, isn't it? You're not going to stop it for one product.
that will never happen again, sadly, from Argos. That's gutting, isn't it?
Don't they do catalogues anymore?
No, but it was online, wasn't it? It wasn't just in the paper.
It was
version.
everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah, it was on the online website. So
Do you not? Can you not still go and steal pens in Argos? Is that a thing of the past?
Oh,
no,
you can.
you can. You pen.
Kit
Oh,
pens.
good.
Yeah, in
Pencil.
Sainsbury's.
they put them there
they're
just
all
to
in
be stolen.
Sainsbury's now.
They put them there just to be stolen.
And
No people come in to nick the pens.
But the best thing about Argos is it's click and collect in 15 minutes. So if you want one of these, it's 15 minutes. You don't have to wait for any dealership. You don't have to order from certain dealers anyway. You could just walk and click and collect. 15 minutes can be in
I haven't
your
got
hand.
15 minutes. I've got a queue in a fuel station. I haven't got time to stand in Argos for 15 minutes.
Hang on. How does that work? They can't have a stock of everything everywhere.
Well,
Pretty much
you
they
just
do.
go in. They pretty much do. They have at least one of everything near as damn it behind
Well,
the thing. Anything in
Obviously,
the catalogue.
I'm jealous of that, but I can buy petrol, so it's fine.
If you walk into Argos and you type in the catalogue number for this, it will tell you how many there are in stock in that Argos.
Don't be jealous. You've got fresh food. You've got petrol.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it.
And it's summer. Woohoo!
Oh,
some
yeah.
of us in the southern hemisphere have got to mow the grass even, and then break a lawnmower. But that's another thing altogether. And Mitchell Roberts is saying, why would it be even worth more than a few grand? The new Mavic. Well, it's what they can get away with, isn't it? And perhaps they are fishing.
Sensor R&D, it is. It's not a mini. It's not this little thing, is it? It's got a lot more in it. But you've got all the prices increasing and everything.
I mean, are they meant to film in ProRes?
We don't know. There's been no talk. All the talk has been is SSD. Now, that leaves a lot open to interpretation because, as you know, this could be ProRes, could be DNG RAW, or it could just be high bit rate to 400 megabits a second, and they're using it rather than cards. What I think if there is a Cine one, I would like to think it could be ProRes or ProRes RAW, and then is a licensing element to that, and that could be part of the cost as well.
That's what I was going to say. I think that's when I saw that cost rumored with the rumored specs. I thought that's the ProRes license, and I don't know exactly how these licenses work. Maybe someone can enlighten me. But I'm guessing they have to pay a fee to someone else for that software to be put onto the drone. So that's why I think there's that jump in price. It's not just a Mavic with an SSD. You're also getting the licenses to use that technology to record.
And Apple get a cut of ProRes RAW. ProRes goes to Apple and DNG goes to Adobe, I think it is. So there is licensing involved.
If they had the head screwed on, they'd go into Blackmagic Design and license Blackmagic RAW, because then they would have got a the Blackmagic would have got a spin-off because people might have looked at their software as an option for. So I'm surprised. I'd be surprised if it was ProRes. There's plenty of other RAW formats out there which would be cheaper. And
they use ProRes now on the Inspire 2. Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah.
Saying that,
Is that why it has to be so big? Carry all that software. Yeah.
I'm looking for an SSD if anyone's got one. They're like rocking horse poop. Yeah.
I've got heaps.
What, that $100 that $200 Samsung SSD that they put custom firmware on and charge you $1,000 for?
Yeah, that's the one. Well, we're at 1,500. Was it 1,500 now for the for the 1 terabyte version?
You get a free SSD with every liter of petrol here.
We can't really complain at just DJI because Red really set the standard on how to rip users off on media, because they didn't even put custom firmware on it. They just put it in a metal box.
Oh, really?
Red literally just took an SSD and put it in a box and went, that's $2,000, please. And it was like...
So here's the question for you. Has no one done the hack yet to be able to hack a firmware for an SSD? You would think someone would do the hack. Because if it's only firmware, why can't someone rip the firmware and reflash a firmware for an SSD?
I think they have.
Daft.
I think they have, because I looked into alternatives, because I thought I read somewhere, I did see a tutorial where someone actually sussed out There was a blog where they totally took it apart and they compared it to other ones. They found almost an exact match to the board. It was basically the same board, just different firmware. And I think they did it. I think they got it going.
There was something. I just think it didn't work everything. The issue is the firmware is Samsung. It was a Samsung SSD, if I recall, and you're dealing with Samsung's level of all of the security around their SSDs and everything as well. So you're not hacking DJI here. You're hacking Samsung and what Let's be realistic. Samsung are very good at what they do. I reckon it could have ProRes RAW. It could have DG. Bruce has made a very good point. If they got any sense, if they went with Thing RAW,
but you see,
Blackmagic design.
Most TV companies, they'll ring up Daryl, for example, and they go, right, have you got ProRes or Cine? And they'll ask him what he's actually got. What format can he provide in? And they're going to go, we really wanted ProRes.
I'm going to be straight up with you. In the last, how long have I had my Inspire 2? Probably 3-4 years. I've had the request twice. Twice.
Doesn't matter.
Everyone's like, oh no, H.264. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Okay.
An SSD could be the wrong term on this as well. It could just have more onboard storage. It might just be that it's got 20 gigs, 30 gigs, 100 gigs of onboard storage. An SSD is a certain term for a certain kind of memory. It might be just there's a lot
just
we don't
NVMe,
know.
memory.
But when you take it into consideration with the rumored prices, you have to think it's a bit more than online storage, or unless it's going to be something really special, because that's a big jump for a Mavic model.
But there's also a little bit of an element of you all know your onions and know your stuff from a couple of years ago and what things cost. There's plenty of people that have joined this market in 6 months ago and they haven't got a clue. They'll just buy the next thing at that
I think pricing is going to be depending on if they want competition. We know they can outprice anyone if they really want to, because they've done that game more than once and no one can compete. End of. They will just flood the market with 300. They're already still beating Autel, and Autel are bringing a new product. So it will be interesting to see if they feel Autel is a threat. The pricing will be less than we imagine, for the most part. But if they don't see Autel as a threat and simply say, you know what, we're going to deliver the best product that exists on the market, then it could be North.
I think they'll get away with almost with whatever they want these days. And I just want to go to a thing called SES News, because all of this, again, not only has it got rid of Skydio and Parrot off the news, I thought that one of the most interesting things was the fact that a French company has not only got permission for BVLOS drone in the box, Azure drones and Avanor, they've got a permission for BVLOS, nobody in the loop. Carry on you go. Is the weather right? Yes, it is. Well, I'll go fly and do my irradiation or radioactivity inspection. And that, as an industry, is pretty big news. That's the first drone in the box approved to do that sort of thing. But let's just go. Let's have news about the small stuff.
Is that just at a certain site then? That's just one particular place? Yeah. And I'm guessing with the sounds of what you just said, it's a nuclear site.
Yes.
So no aviation is going to be allowed near it anyway. So it would make sense, because no aviation is near them by any means. Because if you did, you're in trouble straight away.
But it's still thin end of the wedge, isn't it? I mean, when we get inspection drones going day in and day out,
it kind of makes, from a safety point of view, it makes perfect sense. It's near a particular installation where basically even walking around them, there's going to be this separation. There's a heavy security, but there's going to be no other aircraft in the area for probably 2 miles. So you know, it's in a perfectly safe environment. So flying BV loss should be fine. There was something in the YASA rules, and they were going to allow BV loss in like remote areas to certain distances, and you didn't need anything special to do it, which was quite interesting. Now I don't know if that's gone through yet, or they're still working on it, but it was there, wasn't it? Anyway, I believe, if you recall.
But it's gonna open up all sorts of things, and particularly drop out a lot of training. Because you have skilled camera operators and Daryl, and they're few, but they're you know, the people that can actually film on a production are few and far between, because it is a skill. It is something. It's not for everybody, and most everybody's are chasing the various inspection tasks. And as soon as they're allowed to be autonomous, those most people are gone. Well, Louis is the king of inspections. He knows about things like that.
It's like manual flying a wind turbine doesn't happen now, I should think, in Louis' world. It's automated. Your pilot's there for when it could go pear-shaped and stuff, and probably putting it back on the boat. But otherwise, you know, for the most part, I'm willing to bet the pilot's there just to make sure the aircraft is doing what it's meant to do, which it probably does it every time perfectly. And he's just there to make sure it gets back on the deck, to program it and go, right, it's this particular machine, it's this turbine, whatever. This is the height, put the information in, off it goes, and that's it.
Oh,
you know,
God,
there's no flying.
So complicated. You really make it so complicated.
Go on.
Why
tell us.
Why do you want to put the height and everything? That's why you have sensors and cameras and everything.
It just scans it. Just scans it, works out the size, can go around it automatically. You just sit there, push a button, have a cup of tea.
Oh, come on. I have some pictures because sometimes I do field training, and I have pictures of pilots lying on the grass looking at the ground, and I bet some of them are having a nap. So I usually I have a bag of rocks that I can throw at them when the drone is flying. But no, automation is a reality, and the pilot is there for legal reasons.
Legal reasons, exactly. So now, as the legal reasons are falling away,
somebody to blame.
If somebody had a Parrot Anafi AI, for instance, if any one of us had one of those at the center in the bottom of the image, if any one of us had one of those, then you could use 4G and fly it from anywhere in the world.
Gary, you're forgetting that with the regular Anafi, we already did the video.
True. Yes, we did. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
We did. Flying remotely. And remotely from Poland to Portugal to South Africa.
Yes. Wow. Well, I don't think I would have been doing that, because that probably would have been illegal. So, I mean, that wouldn't be possible.
No. The pilot was there. The pilot was there.
True. It was you, wasn't it? I remember.
Yeah. So the thing is, you were flying the drone, and I was there getting myself suntan and looking at the drone flying, commanded by someone else. So I could take over, and that is always the principle around these kinds of BV loss. But for instance, if you have power line inspections, well, you better start running like Cristiano Ronaldo to follow up the stupid drone. So,
but it's all coming. So there's going to be a big change. People like Daryl who have an expertise and can film stuff and be in production.
I really think that power line inspection, which is on specific paths, will be one of the first specific scenarios that can be easily approved by the authorities. Some of them are already being approved, so you really have to fill up this stack of paperwork. But they are approved, and you fly BV loss doing power line inspection. But it is a very limited scenario. You cannot stray around the mitigation factors that you have to implement on such a scenario are absolutely mind-boggling. I'm still waiting for someone to tell us, can you put an hand grenade on the drone so that it can explode if it goes out of the course?
It's kind of bonkers because, again, if you're doing power lines and you're doing the big pylons, we're not talking about the small stuff here. We are talking
no. We are speaking 400,000 volts
the big
main lines.
The big stuff. So straight away, the risk is manned aviation, of course, is always all national aviation authorities panic about manned aviation because that's their number one fear. That's always their fear. But straight away, you're going, well, hang on a minute. No aircraft in its right mind is going to be that low near a power line.
No, we've had several instances in New Zealand where manned aircraft have collided with power lines, those big power pylons. It happens.
It does. Don't get me wrong. It does happen, and I don't disagree. It's only a matter of time. But however, right, for the most part, manned aviation stays well away from them. For the most part, we've had a couple here where they've hit them as well, but for the most part, you would think tracking pylons would be one of the safer things. Like Louis says, it's the risk is low again, and those pylons, they're not over cities or towns. They're actually out in the middle of nowhere because they're connecting from one part of the grid to the next, typically, or a power station to a substation, then to the city or whatever. You would think that they make perfect sense for long BV loss flying. They make perfect sense.
The thing also is that you don't have to worry about manned aircraft. They'll have ADS-B fitted, and if the drone has ADS-B in it, can take relevant. If manned aviation is worried, then they just fit ADS-B. The problem goes away. But I actually designed a thing to actually follow high-tension power lines. We're working on the electrostatic gradient produced by the high-tension field around the conductors, so it would actually fly at a fixed distance from a high-tension conductor, or if there were two of them, you'd fly at a fixed distance over the top, so you could actually just track the power pylons. You wouldn't even need GPS.
Who did that? I didn't know.
I did that.
You did
I should have patented it. Yeah. I had a guy that was interested in doing power line inspections here, and I sat down and spent a couple of weeks working it out and doing the calculations, and it's quite feasible to do.
Paints it now.
And there are already issues with manned aviation crashes while doing power line inspections. So that's why there is some...
They probably hit drones, Louis. Probably hit drones.
No. They really because they really have to fly very close.
But the only trouble is it can't go through. It can't go through the insulators.
Is that a pair of sandals? They play sneakers. Is there a tinny house or pot house below? That's what
that's the problem. If you have tree branches stopping the line, those vehicles that are stuck on the line won't have an easy job. So, and one of the issues they have is to inspect the power line, see if there are natural things that go on the power lines.
You see,
that's one of the issues.
You see, I'll be flying slightly offset to the power line as well, because you won't fly directly over it. You see,
he did.
Yeah, he did. That M300 left its payload behind.
Yeah, which let's be realistic. That takes some doing, doesn't it?
It's precision, isn't it? It's precision. Yeah.
I thought it was a set of FPV goggles from DJI. I wondered how I got up there.
That is a 20 grand camera hanging off that power line right there.
And how do you even get into that?
That's a bad.
We got rid of him. Oops.
Bye, Mark. See ya.
Bye. Yeah. That is a bad day.
No, there he is. I'll bring him back. There he is. He's back now. He's back now.
I think my Mac.
I blame it on Bruce. I always find moments of trauma.
It was one of those new 0-day attacks for Apple.
I find let's just blame Bruce. That's what I say when all said and done. Let's just blame Bruce.
But, the M300, why would you be so close to a power line? The camera on that the payload on that means you could sit 20 meters, 30 meters away, and you can do whatever you want with that camera.
He wasn't filming that power line. He was filming the one in the field over.
Oh, right.
He was filming the one above it. Remember, there's usually 3.
Yeah,
so unfortunately, there's the one bubble below. But yeah, it just shows that pilot had a really bad day, didn't he? That's a 20 grand payload. That's a day.
When he went back to the office, unless he owned it. Yeah.
And I bet he didn't have a ladder with him to get it down.
Now, let's just move it on a little bit here. Casa fanboy there has been a Casa fanboy because they want some more reporting. If you're having an incident from 250 grams up to, again, if only somebody had prepared.
There's 2 categories here. There's like the big boys drones, and then there's the everything else drones. Yeah. Yes. So again, they think manned aviation, all the manned aviation policies and principles and procedures should be applied to toys because that's aviation.
Yeah, so everything above 250 grams up to quite a few kilos, wasn't it? The first category or something.
Well, if you fly in a specific category here, we have to go and fill in a CARES report. We have to go and do the full CARES reporting, don't we, Daryl? In our ops manuals, if we have an incident with our machines, we have to go through the CARES portal and everything. Oh, it's all right.
Yeah, it CARES, and then you have to do the AAIB incident. Yeah,
and then we've got to do more assessments and everything, and our conclusions. It's crazy.
So drones are quite dangerous. You're likely to die of 1,000 paper cuts with all this forms you've got to fill out.
Well, no, but are we at a position where we might be helping our own case if you start reporting all of these? Because you hit a tree, the battery fell out, whatever. Hands up how many people died in each incident.
But there's 2 sides to that coin, though, because what they'll say is there's been a dramatic increase in the number of drone incident reports. It's getting too dangerous. We've got to bring in new laws. They won't look at it from a subjective perspective. I mean, from an objective perspective, they will twist it to whatever they see. That's why we have the NASA reporting system in the USA now, where they want people to voluntarily report, incidents in the same way that manned aviation does. They can get the numbers up. And that's why CASA wants you to have to report these things so they can push you further out into the little grassy fields. The agendas are very, very clear. Eventually, everyone else will catch on to what we've been saying for many years about where this whole thing's headed.
I mean, I submitted a CARES and AAIB report back in April. I had an incident with my I-2 where I was flying by Covent Garden, the Royal Opera House. Was doing a survey of all the glass windows, and there for about 3 hours on it. It was actually Easter Sunday. Had the road, had people in place to make sure everything was all safe. But the last shoot was just getting the front of the building, and it was hovering there all fine. And literally looked down for a second to double check what's going on my screen, and then suddenly I heard tick 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 tick, and the drone had gone, basically committed suicide in the building opposite the Royal Opera House. Basically flew straight into it. So anyway, I had a look at all the logs and everything, and I spoke to the AIB and submitted a CARES report, and it's come back and it was a GPS or a technical GPS error. What I found out was the building opposite what it flew into was actually a BT Communications building, and they had there was nothing online, nothing on the outside of the building saying, "Hey, this building transmits lots of stuff." So see, and the logs showed that my drone was in that position, stable, and then suddenly within a split second it traveled at 2.3 meters a second and teleported 200 meters away. So the drone it didn't even flash to ATI. It tried to compensate because it thought it had actually moved and flew straight back and straight into the building. So I reported that, and they looked into it, and they didn't blame me whatsoever. They could see from all the technical detail, nothing had gone wrong on the manual side. It was the technology suddenly glitched and thought it was somewhere else, but it didn't even give me the opportunity to switch to manual to ATI control. So that's what normally happens when you have a GPS issue and you lose a few satellites. Suddenly, you'll beam up and come up on the screen. ATI, and you'll get that warning. You take control. Didn't do that.
I thought what you did was waggle the sticks and watch it get blown off downwind. I thought that was the standard.
That does work. Imagine what's going to happen with all these delivery drones passing in front of that building in a few years' time. You sit down below your rich rewards as all these pieces rain from the sky.
But there's not. Again, that's an issue for what pilots who fly in congested areas need to know about. It's not just that just buildings and aerials. It's actually what's going on in the building or what that building's used for, because what's going on inside that building can affect signals outside, as I found out. So then potentially there should be some other way of identifying this, but that's how do you do that? How can you're going to walk around with your monitor
spectrum analyzer?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, right, so you actually have kind of one built into your aircraft. All you've got to do, if you bring up your channels, you can see what's going on. Because it's really interesting, because a lot of people have them in your ops manuals. They have this thing where they go, oh, we've got to have a spectrum analyzer on site. Well, no, you haven't, because in your DJI...
It's only a control link, though. It's not your GPS frequencies, though. It's only a control link, so it's not going to give you any assistance for GPS. Also, but in a built-up urban environment, you got mirrored glass is a wonderful reflector of radio frequencies, and so you end up with multi-pathing to the GPS, which can change your apparent position by significant amounts as you move into a reflection and out of it. It's really a bad place to be using GPS.
BT Communications building, Royal Opera House, covered in glass. So between those two, there's not a good place to fly.
I was hoping that Bruce would come up with the standard reply. Real pilots don't need GPS. So that would be a nice one. But
I've had it before, when you're flying up the side of a tall building, 300 feet, and GPS just does one on you. It's like, you pig. You swear under your breath for a minute, and you just got to go, right, okay, I'll just keep flying and see if GPS comes back or not.
That's why you need a sextant on there as well. Sextant and a compass.
But that's what you've got that option of then suddenly being put in manual control. In some situations,
you don't get that.
Yeah.
If the GPS
does its own thing. Yeah.
It's amazing how quick they go to where they're meant to be. So back in everyone remembers the old Wukongs maybe, and the DJI Wukong and all them. They had issues. They were the ones that in the NASA version 1, they were quite well known for all of a sudden, I need to be over there, and you just watch your aircraft go.
Wow, Neo 6, bring it on.
But there's something to what Louis says, because if you're not reliant on GPS, you don't have that problem. You're flying it all the time. GPS is not important. I mean, I don't. The only drone I have that's got GPS is the DJI FPV drone, which I can't fly anyway. So I've never needed GPS. It's like it's fluff. And that's where the problem comes. It's all these GPS camera drones. They're the problem. It's not like fixed wing models flying into glider tow planes anywhere. No.
Oh yes, there was that. Yeah, where was that? It was a Swiss. I can't remember where that was.
It was in Germany. Yeah,
Germany. That was it.
And how much was that plane?
It was $1,500 for the model, and it did 1,500 euros for the model. It did 10,000 euros worth of damage to the manned aircraft.
That must have been a big plane. That was not a small RC plane for that kind of money.
No.
Yeah. It was. He's probably claiming that from the insurance company, so he'll be putting the figures up. Look at Gary. Oh, that was a big party. It's. You froze for a moment in a very interesting. Face position, but it was obviously a fairly sophisticated model, and that's why I thought maybe it was a fairly upmarket FPV model. But from what I've heard since, it might have been a hotliner, really fast fixed wing model with a high performance electric and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And but I still can't understand how on earth you could see your model but not see the approaching aircraft.
That doesn't make sense really. But I mean, hotliners. It's his pricing just throws me. I've seen some nice hotliners. That he was a serious modeler if he had spent that much on a machine like that.
You can spend a couple of grand on a DLG these days.
Yeah, people.
You can. Don't get me wrong. I get you can, but you like you say, Bruce. How the hell did you not see those two planes? if you're watching your kit, how the hell can you not see them? And you'd hear them as well. Like, you should be able to hear the tug. The tug you would hear. So, yeah, it's an interesting one.
AAM funding and hardware and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I thought they were busy all going bust. Oh, did we see everyone's... Do you remember last week we spoke about AirMap and sort of gently put on that there seemed to be trouble? They're all leaving. They've all run away. So, yeah, they seem to have gone a little bit pop. And further up, somebody did mention that new E-hang. Did we see that new E-hang that's a separate lift thrust that people are being they've just added some wings basically, but people are getting excited about it, and it's all a bit... I'm getting too old in the tooth, aren't I? I'm finding everything a bit meh. All these new Autel, new DJs.
Well, after that party last night, everything has to be meh. Yeah.
No, the party was Saturday. It was Saturday. That's how good it was. It was that many days ago that it was. Hang on. What's who was saying here? It's a shame DJI are more cooperative, transparent about issues like GPS loss, related flyaways, stroke collisions. I think a lot of that is people not leaving long enough for the GPS to get a solid lock and things like that. I think they're generally pretty good.
Well, hang on a minute, but shouldn't the drone be saying you haven't had a solid lock for long enough? I mean, they won't let you fly in flight restricted zones, so why can't they take care of you in that regard?
I mean, it does to a degree, because you can't take... If you haven't got enough GPS satellites, it will say you're an ATI until it has that GPS lock where it feels satisfied that it has enough connections to make an accurate location. So it kind of does, but then I suppose it can drop while you're flying, and then you have to be aware of that.
Yeah, and that's what tends to happen the most now, I think, is, these things, if they're going to lose it, I mean, like Daryl, he was flying in a very confined area, but if you're flying out in the open and you suddenly lose GPS, or it goes, or something it just plays up for any reason, people panic and don't do the one thing they should do, and that is just fly the aircraft, because you've got visual line of sight of it. GPS doesn't mean it cannot fly anymore. It just means return to home now no longer works, and it means that if you let go of the sticks, the wind will make it move in the direction the wind's pushing it. That's the only thing. You can still fly. There's no...
But what you're saying goes back to how I started flying, and most of you guys, we picked up aircrafts that had no bells or whistles, a bit of wind. We had to compensate, and so when we moved on to products like the DJI one, we had that fail-safe of being able to position an aircraft at distance to work out which direction it's going in, where to compensate for the wind, and do all that manual stuff. And unfortunately, there's lots of people just getting to drone. It's not unfortunate, but it happened. People getting into these drones and not being able to fly, because you don't fly DJI products. You tell them where to go. You don't fly them, but you get something like a SEMA X5C, which I learnt on. You have to fly that, because if you don't, it's going in the tree, it's going miles away, you're losing it. You have to be able to control that. So I still think, when I tell anyone who wants to get into drones, ask me how do you get into it, I was like, buy a cheap little drone and master it. Whatever you do, you can buy another DJI Mini, but exactly, learn how to fly that, because at some point those skills will be needed, because it will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Mitchell Roberts mentioning the C2 links, bringing that back a little bit. I have lost track of where we are with the World Radio Council finally allocating spectrum. I don't think it's happened, has it, Bruce?
I don't think it's happened yet, no. So they must be talking about using 4G, 5G or something.
Yes, it has probably jumped the shark of that sort of opportunity, because it was all going to be up in the sort of 7 gigs, wasn't it? We should expect interference at 2.4 and 5.8. He's exactly right.
So here was an interesting thing. I don't know if anyone saw this. Now, just going back to GPS for a second, apparently they can use Starlink satellites to get to be used instead of GPS. Could you imagine that as your backup? or
You
taking
can use mobile networks as well.
Yeah. Signals
Use
of
mobile
opportunity.
The problem is where you've got multipathing of a GPS signal, you're going to have multipathing of your Starlink and of your cellular signals. It's the environment is just hostile to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If only you could use some sort of camera system to guide your cruise missile over a long distance.
Named after a Scottish woman, optical flow.
You can,
Oh, God.
you can install firmware on the i2 because I've tried it and had a go where it uses not only GPS and GLONASS but also uses Galileo satellites as well. And that works pretty well. But I went back to the standard DJI firmware after a little trial because it did have some bugs in it. But the technology's there to put even more satellites into play if they wanted to. If they could, I don't know why they're not, but obviously the more the better. I would have thought the more satellite locks, the more accurate the actual position. And if you've got dual GPS and
you see what Chris did with when he was testing out those GPS receivers? iForce 2D. He did a really comprehensive test of all the different GPS receivers. And actually, I think in some cases you can actually get worse accuracy because if you're using like two different networks, they're fighting each other. They're not. There is a sort of seems to be an optimum.
It's that weird of which does it choose as being correct?
Which is right,
and that's
isn't it?
the problem. Yeah,
So
and this is where Ardra has tried to get very clever with blending, the problem is if you've got two sats, just constellations, you choose one or the other. When it comes to three, it gets quite complicated. And this was part of the issue why the NASA used to fly off, because what the NASA would do is its GPS position would drift and it suddenly thought you were 4 miles from where you were. And that's when it went, oh, I'm not where I should be. I'm going there. And it would literally just go, whoo. And I've had one do it. And I put a nail through that flight controller because it was evil.
But they had the default return to home was somewhere in Shenzhen.
That didn't help. But yeah, it gets complicated.
GPS is interesting technology just because now, imagine without it. Can you imagine if they took it away now? But
it's only a 25 watt transmitter, I think, isn't it? On the things, it's miles and miles and miles away.
20,000 kilometers.
I think it's 10, isn't it? Actually, I think it's 10. It's 10.
10 watts.
No, I think it's 10. Is it 10? It's not a lot.
It's not a lot. And Bradley's saying sophisticated aircraft determining with a sudden change of location. The Septrinio, there is one brand that's really resistant to it, but you'll pay a fortune for it, not $6.
And remember, GPS is always up to 4 meters out, regardless. The aircraft we fly, they are up to 4 meters out. So that's why when you do return to home, the old Inspire 1, if you remember them, if you do return to home with one of them, it will never land in the same place twice.
It will land in the field, the next field along, won't it? And you have to go jump over the fence to go get it.
I always found it would be 2 meters to the right. I had one Inspire 1, and I don't know what it was, but I could take off from
rotation of the Earth.
He would always be a couple of meters to the right-hand side. I knew it was going to do it. But people were like, no. I was like, watch this. I'll do it. And
let's also remember that sometimes it's not that the GPS isn't working. It's that the GPS tells the drone it's not where it is. And therefore, it is the false signal, not a missing signal. It's a false signal that causes the sudden driving off at speed. So, yeah.
And the Phantom 4 Pro is susceptible to injecting a new home point in it. So there is a very piece.
You've got to put all this into context, really, haven't you? When I was lad, it was get the sextant out, go into the astro bubble on the top of the aircraft and all that sort of thing. And we are talking about a tiny signal hitting a little ceramic patch about this big, often underneath trees. I mean, it is.
And right beside a great big video transmitter.
Yeah,
blasting it with out-of-band signals that desensitize it enormously.
And so all of this with $5 sensors. So it's pretty amazing, really.
It's incredible. But the Phantom 4 Pro, you can actually give it a new home point. You can inject it. It's susceptible to a bit of hacking, the old Phantom 4
I never used to do that. If you disarmed and then rearmed in flight, it would reset the home point to where you rearmed, which may be quite some way from where you were. They fixed that, though.
Yes,
Mitchell, again, making a good point of how many consumers of DJI drones know about what multipathing is. But I mean, isn't that, you don't even really need to know what that is. You need to know, don't get it out under a tree, don't put it on the roof of your car for takeoff. There's many things before we get to multipathing. It's to screw up with. Now, what's near Earth Aero? Let's have a look what Jesper's telling us about. Near Earth Aero. I'm going to go off there now. Please talk amongst yourselves.
Is it true you commercial guys go along and tape neodymium magnets to the side of your competitors' drones?
Yes. So every time I'm out in London, I find Daryl and I put heavy magnets on the ground for him.
So it's your fault.
Where are the flying cars? That's what we're looking at, Near Earth Aero, and we're looking at, I think, a Jet Ranger landing on something. And delivery, mobility. Here we are, Near Earth autonomy. Tell us what you're trying to tell us, Jesper. Tell us.
How long before we see flying taxis? That's what we really want.
Never.
How long?
Never.
How far away are they?
Didn't you see Fifth Element?
Yeah.
What surprises me, I suppose I'm very biased to it because I find the delivery drones more interesting, but there just really are way more compelling press releases for delivery drones than there are for VC renders of fancy looking things with people sat in them. I don't understand why the hype isn't happening around. Not deliveries to your home, not deliveries.
But didn't you see $18 billion by 2028? The drone delivery industry, $18 billion. Couldn't have some know-nothing crowd that decided they'd try and make headlines by publishing a report that they'd done by playing with their calculator and crayons and things.
How many times do people ask you to post stuff on your websites, Bruce? A day? How many requests do you get for? Won't you publish this? Won't you publish that?
I just get the regulator saying, "Can you please take that video down?"
Yes. Oh, and Andrew quite correctly saying, how long before you prepare to take a ride in a flying taxi? Well, that's where this audience is self-selecting away from it. All of you dear viewers. I know none of you will. But
I would rather get on SpaceX or Blue Origin or a Virgin spaceship and go into orbit or low Earth orbit than ever get on a drone that flies from A to B. I would rather do that. Just pure and simple.
Manned drones makes no sense. It doesn't. It's not a drone if it's got a man in it.
No, it's an OPV.
I'll sit on a great big fireball of propellant than I would getting a small, little drone that can fly me from A to B. No, the
way I figure is if the pilot's not willing to come along for the ride, I'm not getting in that thing.
Exactly.
It's not happening, and I think the bottom is falling out of that market and that hyposphere. I can't remember which one went bust this week. One of them went, and one of them is very close. So yeah, I think those are going to go away. So what else have we seen this week? Because we are.
I've had a response from Hillingdon Council, by the way.
Okay. Tell us about that.
They responded to me on Twitter finally, and said just submit a complaint through the website. So I did, which was nice. I sent that through, and then I got an automated message. But a few days later, they said they're digesting what I've said. And looking into it, and then I'm going to take it to another stage and get back to me. And I outlined the reasons for the email, not just that I think their policy is incorrect, but also the way that it was handled when I looked at options to film that. So fingers crossed, at some point we'll get a better response and get that policy changed and get people flying again legally in that area.
Did you see in the USA, in Hamilton, the city council passed a law against drone voyeurism? Like there wasn't a law against voyeurism already. Why did they have to make a special one for drone voyeurism? Councils.
It's crazy when we have to have. So we've got rules and laws for everything. So all of a sudden, there's been a lot of dog theft, for example. So theft is a criminal offence, and then they're going to bring a new law in, so make dog theft even more punishable. Well, why not just use the current laws we've got to the full extent that they exist for? It's crazy when we end up with like law after law after law after law stacked on top of other laws. It makes no sense.
They should just make breaking the law illegal.
Yes.
It's because then they're doing something about it, but the people that do something about it haven't got the resources to do anything about it. And it's like all these drone laws have been coming over for the years. It's like, all these drone laws, you can't do this, that, and the other. And the police are like, I still haven't got a clue. We still haven't got the resources to come out to you. You know, we won't go to someone. If someone's car's got broken into, we won't go get fingerprints. Someone's house gets broken into. Very unlikely you're going to get coppers knocking at your door to ask what's gone on. These days, it's all online. So I don't know how creating more laws for stuff like this it's all lip service, basically, just lip service.
It supports the narrative that these things are dangerous and spying on people. That's all it is.
But it does nothing to stop or reduce those crimes. Or for dog theft, definite crime. But again, it's not new laws. They need more police, more
dogs.
Police using the current laws because it's illegal to steal a dog.
So, are those dogs quite valuable or something?
It doesn't have to be a dog, does it? It's illegal to steal stuff.
But are these dogs valuable? But imagine how much a dog soaked in petrol would be worth now.
It'd go woof, wouldn't it? Anyway,
I got
that before Bruce.
So it got really, really bad. There was someone with a knife on a forecourt, wasn't there? Did you see that one, Daryl?
That was in Dartford, I believe, down the road from me. It doesn't surprise me.
You know, who would be so stupid? Because you're going to be on the forecourt CCTV. The car registration is going to be on CCTV. The police should be going, you've got a knife. We've got proof you've got a knife. You're going to jail now.
Well, this is, it's a crime. People are losing their minds. It's just pressure from all angles, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is it they say? You're like 3 hot meals away from anarchy. Well, it looks like you're 1 empty petrol tank away from anarchy in the UK.
Well, at least you can't eat the meal, so they're further away. That's a great thing about this. It's reducing the danger.
It's
because they can't heat the houses either. Anyway,
but the last thing I heard is that. Come on, why do we get so concerned with that? Because I think there's a new professional venue for all, because getting £12,000 per month as a wage for a driver of a lorry, it's quite a good offering.
£12,000 a month?
That's going to kill drone delivery. Who's going to fly a drone for a pittance when you can drive a truck for £12,000 a month?
I'll fly for a few months.
Daryl, we're in the wrong jobs, mate.
I was going to say, I'm going to be a truck driver. HGV, get my license.
Oh God, Boris Johnson is going to take me. I get drone pilots out of the sky in lorries. Come on,
that's it. Yeah, retrain from cyber drones to HGV.
Well, perhaps another way of looking at though is driving lorries. Has that been 100 years? Has it been 100 years of lorry driving? There might have been, might there? So an industry in which people are trained and know what happens and where the vehicles go and this and that and the other, and delivery chains, and that's fallen apart in a heartbeat. It's not a complicated flying system that involves not hitting other stuff and all that sort of thing. So what chance is there if you can't run that? Now, hang on, back to the comments here. Andrew says, if a drone is flying autonomously, who gets charged for the voyeurism? Well, that's quite simple. It's Bruce. It's just Bruce. Just blame Bruce. It's quite easy. Anyone get paid for peeping Tom drone videos? Probably, Christopher. Probably. Yes. And no pilot, no crime. Why do you think they want RID so badly? Yeah. Well, RID is That's what and it's not in the new Autel or not in the new DJI thing. So they've only got 2 years worth of 2023, isn't it? So
they're not C rated anyway, are they? They don't have the C thing.
No C rating.
No C rating. No, well, in the UK, we don't know what's going on with RID because here it's kind of in limbo at the minute.
Because you're waiting to see what wing pushes through. That's what you're waiting for.
Well, funny enough, there's a freedom of information request in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's what's flipping waiting for.
I have that request in. I want to know what's going on with it.
Oh, you're getting as bad as Ian, you are.
Well, I did ask. Yeah, well, I've asked, is it to do with charging or costings or charging drone pilots?
Oh, it's got to be to do with safety. It's all to do with safety.
And if they come back and it's about safety, I'm going to go, can you please show me the deaths?
Just ask for a copy of the risk assessment.
Yeah. Yeah. To be honest, Bruce, yeah, that is the problem. So going on, just touching on risk assessments then for a second. So in one of the groups, there was a big thing about overflight and drones overflying people and roads and stuff. So what is the actual risk of a drone falling out the sky and killing someone? What is
Probably
the actual risk?
About as much as a C-17 flying over a bridge in Australia.
Oh, you had to bring that up. Come on. There are professionals, Bruce. There are professionals, and there are no malfunctions while.
I'm a professional.
I'm just like your mother was. It's bringing back memories of 9/11 for me. It's just trauma, and I'm gonna have to ring somebody and complain about it.
So apart from it was a really cool video. So yeah, the interesting thing is in one of the groups was. So how dangerous is it to overfly? Because, is it a perceived risk? Is it an actual risk? Because if there was a number you could put to it, it would be easier. So if we said that, 10 people a year died from drones overflying and falling out the sky and killing someone, you've got a number. There is a risk there. It actually exists. However, at the minute, we're still at 000 around the world from a multi-rotor, commercially used.
I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Try harder. Even though Canadian police have tried to bring planes out of the sky twice for us, they've failed to manage to kill anyone with a drone as well in an airplane. So it gets interesting. What is the real risk of the drone if you're flying commercially? In a city, what is the actual risk of it falling out the sky? Well, someone says, "Oh, we don't do risk assessments for helicopters because they're too high." But hang on a minute, we've seen it where helicopters will come out the sky and they will still land on site, but their clients or they do a risk assessment for the sake. They don't do it for the helicopter, but they'll do it for the drone.
Well, that squirrel went through the pub roof in Glasgow, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That wasn't the best thing.
Exactly, and it becomes, it's all doom and gloom. And everyone seems to have this fear, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, take a step back, guys. Just look at the big picture here. If a drone did fall out, so one, you've got to have a complete system failure for an aircraft to fall out of the sky. But if you've looked after your aircraft, so Daryl will do a pre-flight. He will make sure the props are on correctly and they are locked in. He will check his battery is correct and it's good. He'll make sure that all the batteries are charged and he's cycled them and they've been looked after. He's checked over his airframe, all the wiring is good. He's checked his control link is good. He's checked his return to home height is good.
You're assuming a lot there, Mark, but yeah, carry on.
But you've done all the checks before you take off. Same as a normal helicopter. So a professional helicopter pilot, he'll make sure he's got fuel in the tank. He'll make sure the blades spin correctly and make sure the logs are right for the maintenance and everything. Same as Daryl's. So you're both doing the same thing. But because the helicopter pilot is considered a professional, and is in a machine that is certified and everything, he's considered safer, and his risk being at 1,000 feet means that it'll never hit the site. Whereas the drone, we're not professional.
And the thing is also that by allowing manned aircraft to overfly populous areas, you are accepting a level of risk. You're saying, we know they're going to crash sometimes and people are going to die sometimes.
Yeah.
So why can that not be extended to people flying drones?
Exactly. Exactly. So, you know, it is about the safety culture. You saw the thing that come up about safety. Yeah, we do this because, you know, we want to be safe. It is part of our safety culture. But that's part of our risk assessment, because we're going, look, we do everything like this. So our machines are safe in we believe the aircraft is safe, same as the pilot gets in his helicopter to go and overfly. Everything's, you know, we believe everything's safe to go and do this. The risk to the people on the ground is minimal, absolutely minimal.
Isn't it also a function of the size of the thing that's going to hit them as well?
Exactly, it's consequences. The risk equation is probability and consequence. Now, in the case of a manned aircraft falling from the sky, the consequences are always extreme, regardless of the probability, which means the risk is always moderate. Whereas in the case of a drone falling from the sky, the consequences tend to be medium to trivial. And so the risk of the drone will always be lower than the risk of the manned operation. So then you've got to look at it and say, well, what amount of risk are we willing to trade off for the benefits that are created by this operation? And if a drone is filming something for the purposes of a television program, then the benefits are exactly the same as a helicopter filming something for a television program. So you would always say, well, let's let the drone do what the helicopter can't do, because it's reducing the overall level of risk, even if we consider the risk for the helicopter to be acceptable.
Yeah.
How
does the guy? Sorry, Gary. How does the guy that bought the helicopter pays the bank loan? The guy has to pay the bank loan of the purchase of the helicopter.
He claims insurance when the drone hits it.
From the Canadian police. From the Canadian police that have just been flying nearby.
Well, as ever, we know common sense isn't allowed here, and you're talking
it's science as well. There. Why are they arguing against the science of risk analysis? Why can you can't argue against that? But that's why they don't do the risk analysis, because then the science would betray the narrative. And this is I've basically reached the point. The rules do not apply to me until you give me the risk assessment, because you're just plucking stuff out of your backsides in the meantime, and I'm as good at that as you are. So I'll just follow my own set of rules.
Well, you know, in my experience and what I've seen over the years, they generally drones don't fall out of the sky unless it's a GoPro Karma. If they, you know, it's very rare, and most of the time it's because they've hit something or just bad piloting. It's piloting error what's caused it, or you know, they don't just generally just fall out of the sky. Now you have to think of all things that can go wrong with it, and you have to realise that an Inspire has an 18-mile radius, 18 miles. So if you're actually flying over someone, let's say, the chances of falling out of the sky are very slim. But there are things that could go wrong, as we discussed about GPS issues. And if something really wanted to go wrong, that risk is not concentrated to the people you're flying above. It's concentrated to, technically, an 18-mile radius is where the drone could actually end up. So flying over people and risks of dropping, I think people need to look at reality that the drones don't drop out the sky. They normally hit something, or if it's a technical error, you've actually got 18 miles of potential issues, not concentrated over the people you're flying over.
It's true. It's true. And, you know, there was that M600 that had that niggle, wasn't there, that was found in the garden. You know, that managed to fly away and didn't blow anything up.
Yeah. But then, so you've got these sensors on there. So even if it did fly away, the chances are, you know, some of the technology is still working. And you'd like to believe that if it suddenly the battery went low, it'd automatically try and land and use the sensors accordingly to find a spot.
Yeah, and given that the hardware is so reliable and proven these days, why is it that, unlike manned aviation, you can go and become a professional drone pilot without doing any kind of test for your actual skill level, your capabilities? Why aren't they buying your flight reviews like there are for manned pilots? Because the wetware is the weak link. What, Louis? What, Louis?
Get the A2 license, and then we can speak with us.
I'm talking about first world countries.
You have to get the A2 license. Come on.
But surely we are actually going to soon reach a point where regulators will start understanding the risk properly, or are we going to bimble on like this for the next 50 years?
It's going to go for a while. The thing that annoys me, I saw another news article today talking about all these instances where drones were in close proximity to helicopters and manned aircraft and how absolutely dangerous this was. And I'm thinking it would be if the drone operators were trying to knock the aircraft out of the sky, but mostly they're just staying out of the way. We don't get excited when a plane lands at LAX because on the approach it saw 30 other aircraft in the same piece of airspace. No, why this assumption that if there's a drone, it has malicious intent and it's trying to knock an airplane or a helicopter down? When will they realize that, no, actually, people, that's not their primary objective. If there is a drone there, the odds are the pilot's trying to keep well away. And if he's not, well, then it's more likely to be, incompetence than malice involved in the whole thing. And we've still no deaths.
It's the negative connection with the word drone and what we're subjected to. Not just quadcopters, but, as I say, military drones, drone strikes. It's negative. And then when drones are in the news, it's normally about something negative about that. So it's reinforcing that word drone as a bad thing. So
exactly. This is why
it's a psychological thing with the word.
And that's why I get irritated that regulators refer to model aircraft as drones. Well, they've never been drones. They've always been model aircraft. But now that the narrative is to get these things out of the way, they tag them with this evil drone word, even though the characteristics of your average, line of sight model aircraft is nothing like a multi-rotor with GPS and a camera.
You say evil word, as I've said it before and I'll say it again, I could have bought, when I bought SUS News, as the domain, I could have bought dronenews.com.
Oh my God.
You should get Drone XL. Get Drone XL. Oh, that's gone too.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, but at least I don't have to survive on just getting paid for tips. Anyway, yeah, it's surely common sense. How many? Let's just pin a tail on a donkey of how many years until all this sort of thing goes away. It's got to be, surely it's got to revolve around the number of people that get rescued because they've been found by a drone, or the number of
it's going to be hard to work out though, because you've still got this economic imperative. Once they've built all these UTMs and things, they're going to have to get the money to pay for them. That the government will be forking out money, has to get that money back. So there will be the flying tax for quite some time. And who knows, eventually drone deliveries may become a thing. So there may be actually a situation where we never see a relaxing of the rules, because it's the only way they can keep the money flowing in this, UTM-based remote ID, so network remote ID. And that is a grave concern. But the best way is just tell them to stick it up their backsides and we'll just do what we've always done. And if they don't like it, well, we don't have a problem. They've got a problem.
Yes, it's true.
I think we'll see more ground-based delivery rovers more than before. We'll see mass delivery in, over cities by drones. I think UTMs, like anyone investing in them, is just burning money. It's like, just throw money away over here. I think that's, yeah. And you can get
it all.
But I've heard that cricket pads are selling out in Milton Keynes.
That one I don't understand.
The little boxes that rove around there, about knee height,
Yeah. Okay. Well, they've rolled out to Northampton as well now. I think those Starship things, they're going.
They're expanding slowly. They're slowly expanding. They're the things that they beat drone delivery, because they can get.
Well, they're there now, aren't they? Yeah. If you're in Milton Keynes, you can order one now.
Can't use them in Australia; they'll be attacked by wombats.
Oh yeah, the crows attacking the wing thing. Yes.
Who'd have thought?
And this actually goes quite nicely, because drone delivery in the UK, seagulls are an absolute pain in the butt.
Don't sit on them.
Only if you've got chips.
No. Didn't you see the Daily Mail? The boy with his ice cream. The gull came down, swept a big bite of his ice cream while his tongue was in it.
But did you see there was an AAIB for an M210 that was taken out? And the M210 is a 6.5 kilo machine. Seagulls, when they're nesting, they do not give a rat. They will take it out of the sky.
Our saviours may be Twitches to the rescue. Save the, come and save the hobby.
I bet it wasn't covered in reflective tape or anything like that.
Wouldn't matter.
To stop bird strikes, birds don't like bright reflective colours. They get scared of it. So on my drones, I've always covered all the legs, arms with bright, different colour, multicolour reflective tape.
Disco drone.
It looks like a nice, like gay pride drone. So everyone knows it's me flying over. But then I've also got some eyes on the drone, some big eyes. And again, I found the bigger birds that go in, they see that, and you think there's a bigger predator in the sky, and they leave you alone. Because I've been attacked loads of times by seagulls. I've got lots of footage of actually a seagull chasing me, and I was flying backwards, and it's like this, coming towards the camera. But it seems like
I really have to get you guys trained on flying with seagulls while nesting. Just go up, guys. Just go up. Just go up, and they'll give up.
No, they don't.
No,
not random. They will go for you, and they will try and attack you unless you've got.
Now, what I'm saying is, if you fly vertically up fast enough, they won't be able to follow you, so you can move around.
What goes up must come down.
I'll have to show you my video, Louis. I've got I'm being circled and stalked by a bunch of seagulls going back a couple of years ago. I'll send you that. It's pretty scary.
But I think
I know we have to. I'm in Portugal, so we have lots of those here. And
but yours are overfed; they can't fly high.
Yeah, yours are all nice and relaxed. Ours are irate.
No, they're irate here too. Don't worry, you're irate enough. And the thing is
that the new Apple product?
No, they even have law protection, because in certain areas you cannot fly while they are nesting. So sometimes you fly outside of their restricted areas, and they come after you. So you have to find a way of not damaging the nice little birdie. So the thing is, go up, and they'll give up. Because if you do sudden movements upwards, they are very hard to go up after you.
I wanted just to quickly get in there that most of Daryl's stories involve when I was attacked, be it by birds, people, or whatever. I have video of being attacked. This is quite simple.
That's just my life.
What have you been attacked by this week, Daryl?
Nasty people on Facebook and on YouTube.
And Andrew's saying about, do you think the drive will continue for UTMs as drone taxis and drone deliveries die? Yeah, I think it will, because you've got to remember the word that Rich has used, which is unified, and which is probably the more sensible way, because traffic, general road traffic, will be controlled in some way or another, or they'll want to. The flying part is a mere bagatelle compared to trucks and cars and bikes and all the other stuff. So I think UTM will keep coming. And then Mitchell says, sounds like an opportunity for someone to vacuum up venture capital. Drones to remove birds from airfields. We used to do that with shotguns.
Doing my best.
Yeah. Well, you do that. You're very keen. Mavic 2.
The thing is, you could get rid of UTMs straight away. One device could get rid of UTMs and make them more redundant, and that would be it. You could just get rid of UTMs easily.
They'll come. I just don't think the drones will be a big part of it.
You don't need UTMs at all. You just need electronic conspicuousy, one system for every aircraft in the sky, so everything can see everything else, and you make that decision yourself. You do not need a UTM to tell you anything. You don't need it.
It doesn't work so well on the roads, though, eh?
Who gave Mark some Kool-Aid? Mark is drinking some nice beverage.
You can get rid of UTMs by switching to the Chinese alphabet.
Yeah, but you only need electronic conspicuousy for everything in the air. That's all you need. So if you could see a plane is 1 kilometer away and you can see which way it's going, you know to avoid it. It's
everything
easy.
In the air. That includes the seagulls.
No, you will never see seagulls. A UTM will never see a seagull, so they are not part of the system.
What about when you're surrounded by planes? Where do you go then?
Lower than them.
there's planes below you.
No,
you need an overall intelligence to manage things. That's what Richard's system is supposed to do. It's supposed to predict and preempt any collisions.
Electronic conspicuously, we're flying under 400 feet. If a plane's under that, he's either landing or taking off, or he's already screwed.
So you're talking about driving in India, really, aren't you? This is when you drive in India. This is basically what happens. There's cars coming everywhere, and you've just got to try and dodge them all.
Yeah, but the airspace is massive. So it's not like there's 1,000 drones crisscrossing across every city every day anyway. So UTMs...
Yeah.
Oh, there is in all the VC predictions. There is.
Please,
there is.
It's not going to happen, is it? So if you can see everything else that's in the sky through electronic conspicuousy, and you have that ability to see that on your screen with your drone, very much like we have AirSense for DJI, you wouldn't actually need a UTM.
So you're in favour of remote ID then?
No, electronic conspicuousy. I am not for remote ID. Remote ID can jump off a cliff.
Yeah. So you're saying, look out here I come, but I'm not telling you who I am.
Or where I'm going or what's happening. Yeah.
But electronic, it would just make sense for everything to be visible. You don't need to spend millions on UTMs. It's waste of money. Money.
How can you make a fortune if you don't have people spending millions?
Because how do you lose a fortune?
I mean,
the taxpayers, remember, they socialise debt, and then privatise profit. That's the way the world works these days.
And on that note, we are definitely beginning to run around the corner, gentlemen.
Just before we go, then there is the drone show in the UK this next week, isn't it?
Is it?
Have you seen it, Daryl? There's a drone show.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, the O2, the one down at the XL. Sorry, not the O2.
Oh, is that the commercial drone thing?
Yeah.
It's on every year. Yeah.
They sent me tickets this week, but I don't think I'll be going.
I can't. Will the Chinese have that big drone on display? The one that flies for 20 hours?
24 hours. Fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Balloons will stay up longer than that.
I was looking at AliExpress trying to find one. I could not.
Could you get it on there? Yeah.
It better cost you $99 million for shipping.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw that? Yes. Yeah, I wanted to buy a $36 SDR. I wanted to buy a real one of these rather than this fake one I got, which is no good. And as Bruce says, it's going to cost me $99 million or whatever it is to ship here. So I've decided against it because I don't quite have Bruce's YouTube earnings. So that was, that was the thing with that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So going once, going twice. Is there anything else we've seen?
No, but I did just send you an image of my drone with some reflective tape because someone mentioned on there that seemed like a good tip, just so that people can see.
Well, you can share it. Just share it in the thing. Oh, hang on.
I'm a bit scared of sharing. I've got 3 screens active, and I'm not sure which one's going to come up. So that's what I'm
just close down the Pornhub windows.
Here we go then. Here we go. Then. It's the risky sharing. Come on, everyone.
No, so I've just sent it on Messenger.
Where did you send it? Send it via email or Facebook?
Facebook Messenger.
What we've got to watch?
I don't know. Who knows what might be coming up on my
I'll see if I can share it.
Hang on, no.
You got it?
You can't. Hang on. Oh goodness me, that's interesting.
Your files have been encrypted. Please pay 5 Bitcoin.
Exactly right. Here we are. Let's see if I can share this over here,
over there.
Yeah, must be that one, I guess. Well, fingers crossed, everybody. There we are.
There we go. So so something like that, it seems to keep the birds away. Even the
come on, you've just crashed it so many times you've had to tape it up.
Yes, wounds, fixing the wounds.
Absolutely, yeah. It
also looks really cool.
If you don't get out much, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much. It's definitely time to go. Wherever you are in the world, be safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, do all those other good things. Thanks very much for joining us, Daryl. Thank you, everybody else. See you all again, 2100 GMT next week. Take care, everyone. Look after yourselves. Let's see how long it takes before this closes down. One button.